Sergeant Louis Pierre Geoffrion, Canadian Royal Air Force, World War II. Louis is one of my favorite Canadian veterans. I met him in Montreal. It was September 25th, 2009. I actually made 2 trips to Montreal, one in September, one in December of 2009, and a lot of these veterans are featured in my Canadian films. And Louis was he was 89 when I interviewed him. He actually passed away 3 months later, the day after Christmas, December 26, 2009, at the age of 89. But folks, that's the importance of my work, to record these stories before it's too late. Louis was a fighter pilot, an incredible man, a fighter pilot, some great pictures of him. He served 2 tours in World War II with the Canadian Royal Air Force. The first tour, he flew a Hawker Hurricane aircraft in the Desert Air Force, and then the second tour he flew a Spitfire a fighter plane with the Royal Canadian Air Force to the end of the war. And I want to mention, Louis is featured in my film Yamaha Show of the Holocaust Remembered, and he tells a gripping story of what he saw at the camps, the concentration camps. He liberated one of the concentration camps. He was there and he saw the generals coming out crying. They were so moved by what they saw. And just tells an amazing story. And I'm just really proud that I have his story for you to watch today. And I want to thank Chris Jansen. Chris is a Canadian truck driver. He drives in Alberta, up in Canada, and we've become friends through the internet, and he's sponsored some of my work, and he's actually off to Thailand this weekend, so he's going to have a great trip there. But Chris, God bless you. I look in this camera and say thank you, and happy Remembrance Day to you, and thank you for making it possible for others to hear Louis's story today on the Voices of History YouTube channel and radio station, which it will play for around the clock on the radio station. But Chris, God bless you and your wife as you go. Safe travels. But most of all, thank you for supporting my work and the veterans of your country, and I just greatly appreciate it. Folks, my heart's full today. We're coming up on Veterans Day here in the United States, Remembrance Day in Canada, Saturday, November 11th. And it's a special day for me, always a special day for me. And I'd like to encourage some of you who are wanting to sponsor one of these stories to go to my website, larrycapetto.com, click on Sponsor a Veteran, and you'll see pictures of my veterans, or in the video description below this video, you'll see a link there. If you'd like to donate to my work, there's information in the comment section of all my videos. The first comment is mine. Click on the link and you can make a donation. To keep this going, folks, let's keep it going. I've got many more Canadian stories, so those of you who are from Canada like to sponsor one of those stories, please get a hold of me. I have them in my archive. But I'm just proud of my Canadian veteran, Louis. God bless you. He passed away, like I said, 89 years of age, 2009, and his story lives on through this YouTube channel and my radio station. So happy Veterans Day to everybody out there. Happy Remembrance Day up in Canada, and let's just thank a veteran today. If you see a veteran or someone in your family, take some time and get a hold of them and tell them thank you for their service. Thank you for subscribing and sharing these videos. God bless you.
What year did you go into the military?
40.
And did you volunteer to go?
Oh, you have to volunteer in Canada. There's no conscription.
Okay, so you in 1940.
1940, I volunteered.
And how old were you in 1940?
I was 19.
And you're a young man.
Yeah.
What branch of the military did you go into?
Pilot.
You were a pilot.
Oh, yeah. I said, I want to be a pilot, and I was a pilot.
Yeah.
But I mean, I passed the medical, and I passed everything that they wanted me to pass. And I knew a bit about it because there was a sort of a National Guard here, if you wish, reserve. And I knew the commanding officer very well, and at least he knew my father very well. He was much older than I was. And he'd been in the First World War with the Royal Naval. And he said, "You want to go fly?" Don't ask the bird if he wants to fly. And we went up, and I wanted to join up right away. And he said, "No, you go back to school. The war will be over in 3 months." As a forecaster of war ending, he was rotten. But as a man, he was a fantastic guy. And I went back to school, and I finished, and I had 14 years, I think.
So where did you train to be a pilot?
In Summerside, in St. Eugene, which is in Ontario, not far from here. And then I went to Summerside, PEI. And if you want a place to learn how to fly because you're going to England, that's the spot, because it's foggy all the time. But it was very, very nice. The training was good. The instructors were.
What kind of aircraft did you fly?
AT-6, same as you, whether were your aircraft. Yeah, you gave us a whole bunch, and we had a big factory manufacturing them here. And yeah, I got on the Fleet Finch. That was the first aircraft I was on.
Yeah.
And then after that, I went on to Harvard. And then from Harvard, there was no OTU, which is Operational Training Unit, in Canada. So I had to go immediately to England with an unfinished course. So I had about 140 hours by the time I got through the whole thing.
What year did you go overseas?
41.
Where did you go?
To England. I was told immediately that I didn't have a chance to get on a Canadian squadron because they were booked solid. And all the Canadian squadrons started with a 4. From 400 to 450 was all Canadian. And below that was R.C.A.F, and then above that was Australian and New Zealand. And of course the South Africans, well, they were different. They had different uniforms, and they were very, very good pilots. I flew with them. And I was told immediately that I would not be staying in England. They said, "Where do you want to go?" Well, I said, number one, I'd like to go to Australia. Number two, I'd like to go to Hong Kong, of all places. Can you imagine if I'd gone to Hong Kong? Geez, everybody was taken prisoners, killed. And it was bad. God, we were losing on every front. I've got a theory. Midway, your battle. El Alamein, our battle in Africa against Rommel. The Battle of Britain was the Air Force against Air Force in England. We won that. And a few other little details. Battle. And that was the turnaround of the war.
Yeah.
About 42 it started.
When were you first in combat? Where were you when you first engaged the enemy?
In Africa.
And you were flying your plane. You were.
I was flying Hurricanes,
Hurricane.
and they were not the fastest aircraft going. They were an aircraft that dated back to 1935, 34. So you know, they claimed they didn't have enough Spitfires for us. May be true, but.
So were you encountering enemy aircraft while you were, or were you on a bombing, or what kind of mission were you on?
Oh no, I was on a rhubarb they call, which is a bunch of say in this case there was about 50 aircraft, and we just went looking for trouble. And we didn't have to go far. You crossed the channel and you were in trouble. And the German pilots were good. Ooh, boy.
What did they have? Messerschmitts? What kind
Messerschmitts and then Focke-Wulf 190. Oh yeah, that was a good aircraft.
Did you get into any dogfights, or did you get
No,
into any type
no,
of...
I didn't. With the Hurricane, you couldn't get into a dogfight. These aircraft were so fast. The German aircraft was superior to the Hurricane, except that a very, very top-notch British pilot, even if he was flying a Hurricane, would shoot down a Messerschmitt any day, because he was so experimented. He knew exactly what to do, when to do it. You know, it was a speedy thing.
Yeah. Well, tell me about, were you ever shot at or shot down?
I was shot down October the 30th, 1943.
Tell me about it. Where were you, what you were doing, and what happened?
I was in Cyprus, which is an island, as you know, in offshore from Israel. And it belongs to Greece, more or less. It's sort of a double ownership, half Greek and half Turkish. I'd taken off with another guy. There were two of us, and we were just going up looking for trouble. And that's all we seemed to do, look for trouble. This time I got trouble. The first thing I knew, I could hear I was being hit in the motor, and then it caught on fire.
Anti-aircraft?
No, just the motor. It burnt black smoke. It was everywhere. And you're not even scared, eh? Come on, you're getting out of a cauldron and you jump. You're scared after. And I went down, and I knew where I was. I was 50 miles from land, over the ocean. And I said, oh God, this is going to be a long swim. And finally I got into the water, and my buddy who was in the other aircraft saw a ship some distance away. And somehow he got over to the ship and he pointed back towards me, and they understood. I don't know how. And they came back and they picked me up. They said, where are you from? I said, militarily, I'm not allowed to tell you. But I said, I can tell you I'm from Montreal. And the guy said, do you know Henry Geoffrion? I said, he's my father. Just like that. Just like that. And it was on my birthday. This was my birthday. And these Frenchies, they had a cupcake with a candle for dessert, you know, for my cake. He thought of everything. And it was bad news on that ship. We got attacked. Oh, God almighty. I've never so scared in my life. Naturally, a pilot is going to be scared because he's trained to think that he's got the best thing in hand. And a Navy man is going to be scared if he's in anything but a ship. And a tank guy is scared unless he's in a tank. I suppose that's the salvation of this thing. The only way that you get through it is because...
So you were over in Europe how many months?
Oh my God. Took me, my first tour took 2 years. I did 200 operational hours. Now, if I go out and if I fight for, say, an hour, I declare that, and it goes down as an hour against my 200.
Okay.
That takes a long time. And finally, the CO called me in and he said, we're on our way to Italy and Yugoslavia, and we're going from Spitfires to Mustangs. We had Spitfires by then. And he said, we're now going on P-51s, Mustang, a beautiful aircraft. And nearly the whole goddamn squadron got killed. These Yugoslavs were bastards. Oh boy. I hope you're not Yugoslav. They were tough. And it's funny that they were not pro-Russian. Everybody thought they were communists, but they weren't. They finally ended up on our side. But later on, that turned to not so good.
Did you lose any of your fellow pilots during any of this time that were shot down or killed?
My first takeoff, I had a friend of mine. His name was Jesse James. Jesse, we call him Jesse James. And he took off. He was here, and I was there, and at this distance. And we were taking off. There were 12 aircraft taking off. 13, because there was always one spare to take over any one man that would drop out. So they'd have 12 when 12 aircraft was a squadron. And
He was killed?
We always closed our cockpit after we took off. We didn't in the jets because the jets were more complicated and you sealed them and everything. But in those aircraft, you with your arm, you went, and I saw his arm go up like that and backwards, and he lost his glove. The plane turned upside down. He was gone. Took 2 seconds. And CO said, might as well finish the mission. God, I felt my first experience, you know, I thought it was so callous that we wouldn't stop for him. You can't stop. I can see that now. And you can't stop for anybody. You got to do your job.
Yeah. So how long were you in Europe, to what year? 44, 45?
I was there till, actually I stayed in Africa till, I made the Italian landing, and then we were pulled back to Malta, and then to Cyprus again, and Churchill was screaming at the top of his head, I want to attack through Greece, the underbelly of Europe. And his idea was that he would attack, and that none of this garbage that we got with the Russians would happen. How right or how wrong he was, I don't know. Things like that are decisions from the top, and you know, who are we, little men? We're very, very small. And although I must say that the British, I remember Lord Tedder, who was, he was a fabulous guy. I had an unbelievable experience with him. I was in the hospital. This was on my birthday. And I had malaria and something else, and I had sinus problems, and they operated on me. And because if you got sinus or a cold, you shouldn't fly.
Yeah.
You know, it's not good. And because it pressurizes, and you get these headaches that go right across your, like flashes. By this time we were on Spitfires. And of course it was a better aircraft, but I still prefer the old Hurricane.
Is that right?
Oh, what an aircraft. It was something else. And it did, we cruised at 200, 180. And so, you know, when people say, how fast can you go? We can go 450. But you never go 450. If you went 450 and tried to fight, try to turn, you'd black out immediately, and you'd probably die. And so they don't want that. So we retained our speed. And the Germans too. They could then, you know, have a chance to fight. And Turks were very, very good fighters. They weren't in the war, but I know in Korea, from Korea, the Korean War, and unbelievable. They were wild.
So was that the worst part of your,
No.
the getting shot down? Was that the toughest part for you?
Oh, no. Oh, God, no. Then I came home for a month's holiday. All Canadians got home for a month after they finished their tour, and 6 months of instructions. If you could be instructing another pilot, you could be doing a whole lot of things. And they were. Anyway, I got home, and I was very happy to get home, and I didn't recognize my sister. My sister was 5 years old when I left, and when I came back, she was 8, 9. She was a young lady, you know. She'd grown. And of course, I lost most of my French. Except that in Egypt, everybody speaks French, so I had a chance to.
So where were you born?
I was born in Montreal. Yeah.
What does the Canadian flag today mean to you, or represent to you?
Well, it doesn't. This is going to sound upside down. I never fought under that flag.
No, I understand. But what does it represent?
Yeah.
Well, the only comparison I can make is the American war veterans that I talked to, the American flag. that's when they start to cry, when I ask them about their flag. But, and some Canadians that I've talked to.
Yeah.
But let me ask this question. What does freedom mean to you? Tell me about freedom. What does that mean to you?
Freedom is like eating. You gotta have freedom. Good freedom. Yeah.
That was good. I've never heard that. That was good. It's
Good.
like eating. You gotta have it.
You gotta,
That's
you,
it,
you,
that's
you
it,
know, it's
everything.
something, you cherish it. It's yours. It's more so than the flag. The flag is there is a perfect example. A piece of cloth divided in three, red and white, and a maple leaf in the middle. To French Canadians and Ontario people, that means a lot, the maple leaf. But you go out of Ontario, going west, and you get Manitoba and Saskatchewan and Alberta and
British
BC.
Columbia.
There's no maple tree out there. What does it mean to them? I think that the U.S. flag, my wife and I talk about this a lot, how the children respect the flag. I respect the flag. I'll fight for it again. But that's a toughie when you get home.
That's
You
fine.
know, people ask you, "Are you in favor of the war?" Nobody's in favor of war, for God's sake. We're not crazy. No, I'm not in favor of war, but I think it becomes necessary at certain times. And I think that war, particularly 39-45, was a war that was needed to put down some people who had highly exaggerated. It's disgusting, you know, when I...
That was good what you said. I liked what you said.
What?
But sometimes war is necessary.
Yeah,
Nobody likes it, but
but you have to have it.
yeah, and I agree with that.
And unfortunately, I'm not saying I'm in agreement with Iraq. I don't know.
Hey, do you guys live in Ontario?
Yeah,
How far of a drive was it here for you today?
an hour.
It's not too bad.
It's about 60, 70 miles.
Okay, that's not too bad. Okay. I didn't realize we were that close to Ontario.
Oh
'Cause I've
yeah.
done a lot of work in Ontario.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, but Ontario is one hell of a
I know.
big place.
yeah, yeah.
And
Are you proud to be a World War II veteran?
yeah,
Do people thank you for serving your country?
yeah,
How does that make you feel?
good. The kids stop us on the street. You soldier. Yeah, thank you very much. Dad told me to say thanks. Just touches you right there.
Here's a good question for you. Right along these lines, what does Remembrance Day mean to you?
Two years ago, I guess we had our best Remembrance Day. They had a Remembrance Day for all the veterans, and particularly those who had been in action. And they received us, all those that were 80 and above. And we were received by a bevy of beautiful ladies and wonderful people who were our waiters, our waitresses, and if I wanted a hot dog, I got a hot dog. If I wanted a scotch and soda, I got a scotch and soda. If I wanted a beer, I got a beer. That was it. And we went up to Ottawa and where was it that we went? Maxville? Maxville, where they have these,
Highland Games.
eh?
Highland Games.
The Highland Games. Oh, Jesus Christ, they're crazy, those Scots people. One thing I found out in England is that the Scots are not very enamored with the British, and the British are not very enamored with the Scots. But nor are the Irish, and nor are the Welsh. But when there's a war, they all get together and they fight it. You see, we didn't know in Canada, we didn't know what conscription was really. We didn't have it. We had a sort of a conscription if necessary, and no conscription if not. That's the way the Prime Minister put it.
Do you feel that sometimes maybe Canadians feel left out of history?
No. God, no. We're not big. We're big size country, but we're not enough.
Well, I've heard comments like all the attention was on the Americans in World War II, and you guys didn't get enough credit for what you did. Do you feel like that? I even said that this morning on TV. Did you see that program this morning?
I stayed away from that.
That's good.
What's the point? I mean, everybody's got his idea about that.
Well, that's one reason I'm doing this. I want to give you guys recognition for what you've done.
Well,
And you've said some good things today.
that have to be said.
But you're very short in your comments. I like that. You're very to the point. You say it, and it's good.
When I was in this course at military academy, which is based on your academy, I love this country. I think it's a beautiful place. I love America. My grandfather was an American. Well, he was not quite an American, but nearly an American. And he was born in New York, and he owned, there were 7 of them, and they owned 3 ships. And they used to bring vegetables up from South America to New York. And he used to say to my father, "Someday we'll all be Americans." That hasn't happened yet. I don't know. I don't know if it's such a good thing.
Now you're 88 years old.
88.
Did you ever think you'd be 88 years old?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
I think I'm going to be 140.
Do it.
The doctor said, jusqu'à quel âge tu veux vivre? Until what age do you want to live? 140, I said. He says, I'm starting to believe it. I thought that was good.
It's good. When you guys are gone someday, your stories are going to be gone. Do you think it's important that our young...
Oh, we've done a lot on that, eh?
Tell me why it's important that young people today learn about World War II. Why is that important?
I don't think they know much about it. I say to a guy, a young kid, were you in the war? Yeah. Which one? against Rommel. Oh, no clue who Rommel is. Yeah. It doesn't matter. I think we did right.
Did you tell that kid which war you're in?
I told him I don't think he understood. He was very young.
Well, it's important though that they learn. What should the country learn about World War II? What should we learn about World War II? Or what should we?
I think one thing we're going to have to make up our mind is that nobody can be told all the time what to do. And the Americans have just had a lesson in that.
Americans are crazy.
Well, I think this new president you've got is, we think he's the best thing that ever happened to Canada.
Why?
Because he's black, because he's tall, because he's a gentleman, because he's well educated, because he talks like a Kennedy. He's got it all. And yet, you're going to see that this man is very like that. He has to be. He's in this kind of a world and seesawing, and it's not an easy job. I'm sure that I listen to him some days, and I wonder if what he said yesterday was the same thing. But yeah, I like the guy. I didn't vote for him. I'm not allowed to vote for him. We got our own elections coming up. You see, it's 3 times in a row the Canadians have told the Canadian government, we want a minority government. And they've got a minority government. In other words, no government has full power. It's a good thing, you know. Think about it. Part of the government is for this, part of the government is for that, and you get other factions, and they're against it, they're for it. But the total thing is that I think that we're doing what the people want. And they're happy the way it is right now. You know,
Yeah.
I'd much rather you'd ask me.
I've got a question. Can I ask you about Auschwitz?
About who?
Auschwitz.
You mean the concentration camp?
Yes.
I'll tell you about. What's the concentration camp I went to?
Auschwitz.
No. It was near.
Was this during the war?
Oh yeah.
Tell me about it. I'm doing a film on the Holocaust right now. What can you tell me about the concentration camps?
Liberated one, I guess.
Well,
Auschwitz. What's the other?
tell me about the one you liberated.
Well, I didn't liberate it.
Well, just tell me about being there, what you saw.
Well, I was asked by the local priest if I would go down with him and about 16 other guys, and we were there technically as technicians, and we were supposed to put up electrical conduit so that we could have operating rooms and things like that. Not on site, but just outside. I saw a guy that they would walk like this, and they bump into each other, and until they bumped again, and then they went another direction, completely lost. And I said to this guy, I said, "Who's that man?" "Chief surgeon of the General Hospital in Berlin." Jew. Are they crazy or something? Were they crazy to throw Einstein out? I think they were a little bit. I don't think that you can put a value of Jew on Einstein. Einstein's a man. He's a great man. Great comedian also. And there's a story I'll never forget about Einstein. Mrs. Claire Booth Luce, who owned Life magazine and a few other things, asked some of her reporters if they would care to see Mr. Einstein in Princeton and find out from him certain things. They walked into Princeton and they said, "Mr. Einstein, it is reported that you're an atheist." Ah, reported? Big word. He says, "The only thing I'll tell you is that through my very, very feeble mind, I've been barely able to open the window on the vista of universe. And I peer through the crack, and what do I see on the other side? Divine proof of divine creation." Maybe I'm an atheist. I walked away. I'm always shaken when I hear that. Naturally, I was, my upbringing was as a Catholic. We're not Catholics anymore. We're Christians, I think.
Do you have any more knowledge about the concentration camps? You didn't say a whole lot. I mean, did you go into them? Did you see the people?
I saw the people. It was enough. The smell, it was enough. I saw people being buried in these gigantic fosse. We saw that. They were doing it at the time with bulldozers and pushing all the bodies in. It was awful. And I saw generals, American generals, tough sons of bitches, and English generals and Canadian generals walking out of that camp crying. A big tear coming down. What have we done to man? These are questions that nobody asked me. Nobody wants to.
How did that affect you personally? I mean, did you cry? Did you wonder why? What were your thoughts then and now?
I suppose at the time, I could do like some people do, blame the Jews for not defending themselves. It's so hard in a case like that. You know, you and I, we come from freedom-loving land, Canada and the United States. I don't call Mexico freedom-loving land. I don't call most of South America freedom-loving land.
Well, this is valuable what you're saying because I am finishing a film on the Holocaust. I've heard many stories. You said you saw them burying bodies. Were there?
No one was alive at that point, but I have seen scenes of, Germans, they stand them all up and they finish digging and they said, and they fall in. I've seen that in Russia. I've seen pictures of it. Is it true I wasn't there, Charlie?
How long were you at this camp? An hour, a day, a week? Do you remember? You said you were a technician.
We were no. They brought us down on that excuse. We stayed there 2 days, and I wanted to go home. I couldn't believe it. Up to then, I'd heard about it, but I couldn't believe it.
Did you ever talk about it after the war, or is this the first time you're talking about it?
Do I talk about it?
Oh, you talked to me about it.
Yeah.
What, one of there's Dachau, it wasn't Dachau, where's the other one?
Well, there was Auschwitz. I said Birkenau. There was Mauthausen. There was Auschwitz. Oh my gosh. Here we go.
Treblinka.
Treblinka.
That was one of the worst camps going. I've never been in there, but from what I hear. The only one I've seen close is the one I'm describing there.
I can't think of the name. It's
So so well known. Anyway,
How come I can't think of it? I'm doing the story on it. You can't think of it? Dachau, Auschwitz were some of the big ones.
Whereabouts in Germany, do you know?
it's we were stationed at Schneverdingen. That was about
Buchenwald?
Buchenwald.
Buchenwald. Tell me about Buchenwald. Tell me again about Buchenwald. Did you know what you were getting into when you got there?
not quite.
What was your job there? Did you just observe or did you do anything?
No, we were observers. We were there with Father Butler, and he brought us down. I want you boys to see this. We saw it. You see, I must say that in the Air Force, they treated us with It was very funny to be transferred to the R.A.F. and to see that you were still under very, very strict discipline. We were not under very strict discipline. I personally feel that there were great mistakes made I'm getting involved in theory here, but there were great mistakes made. I don't think that because you know how to fly, you know how to command. I think about that. And if I know how to fly, I might be good in the air. I might call the right shot. I might direct the squadron in the right direction. I might do a lot of things. I shouldn't tell this story.
Can I ask you a question? You mentioned, was it a Catholic priest? What was his job at Buchenwald? He wanted you to see.
He was no. He was the Catholic priest at our wing.
No, the one you said he wanted you to see it. Who was that took you to the camp?
The padre at our wing.
But did he do anything at Buchenwald? Did he?
No.
Okay.
He helped. You know. What could he do?
Well, let me ask you this. What were your thoughts about God, man, life, death, then and now, after being there and knowing what happened with the Holocaust? What are your thoughts about life and death and God and everything?
Man's responsible for it. The only thing wrong with religion is man-made. I've never seen anything that God was supposed to have made that was really wrong. That's my belief. But I'm stuck with it. And I believe in heaven. I don't know if I believe in heaven exactly the way you do. We may not end up there, one person being one. We may be 10 people being one. It's difficult to explain. We're trying to explain something that's divine. I'm not divine. I'm an animal. I'm a human being. Like an animal. I live on instinct and different other things.
Do you think about heaven? Do you think about dying?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Are you peaceful?
Well, it's okay with me. I'm 88 and I say, what the hell, God, you want to come and get me? That's okay.
You know, I want to thank you for sharing a little bit about the Holocaust. Like I said, I'm working on a film now. I've heard a lot of stories from Jewish survivors, from liberators, men like yourself that were there. They weren't prepared for what they saw.
Oh, no.
You mentioned the generals crying. They weren't prepared for that.
They weren't prepared.
They were in combat, but they weren't prepared for what they saw.
No.
It changed their lives forever. Did it change you?
Every time I think about it, yes. I think it changed me a little bit.
What were your thoughts of Hitler back then?
Good.
Or what was he trying to do, in your opinion?
He was trying to do what Napoleon tried to do. Napoleon was trying to make one Europe under Russia, under France, under England, under everything. I don't think he was trying to do any more than that. I think he was sure that they won the last war, and it was a mistake that we said we did. It's absolutely stupid. Why the hell would they want to start another war? Are we ever going to learn from all this?
It's a good question. They say history repeats itself if we don't learn something, huh?
God almighty.
Hey, we're about done with the interview. I'm going to ask you to do one more thing.
Yeah.
At the end of all my interviews, if you ever watch one of my documentaries, I ask the veterans, Canadian and American, to salute. Now, is that something you can do for me?
Sure.
From where you're seated, when I tell you, okay? I want you to look right into the camera, Louis. Go ahead, sir. Give me a salute right in the camera. Thank you.